An entrepreneur once had an idea that would take his clients all across Africa. The Rovos Rail prides itself in being one of the world's most luxurious train stations. It runs to Cape Town, Durban, Vic Falls, Namibia and Tanzania, all the way from Pretoria. Today we visit the birthplace of the 29-year-old train station to meet with the owner and founder, Mr. Rohan Vos.
To wake up in the morning and do what I want to do is probably because of my sort of independent type spirit is wonderful. I can get up and be an architect one day, an electrician the next, I can be a designer the next. So I have a very varied existence, and that's what keeps me happy. We started off at the beginning with a staff member of mine working in the spares business that I was running at the time. He's wanting to save the steam engines from the demise that they were facing. And then I thought, well, it might be fun to have some carriages for myself, and I would build a family caravan. And we were going to be hauled around the countryside by the railways. And we started work on them, and then I thought, well, you know, why don't I have my own locomotive as well? So I applied. They gave me permission 3 months later, which was quite a surprise, but they also included the tariffs that would be charged for that opportunity. And when I looked at that and did the sums, I thought, no, it would be incredibly extravagant as a family to drive around the country at these sort of rates. And I thought, well, then we just start another business. This should be reasonably sort of straightforward. Well, that was the biggest mistake. And we were finding out how to combine tourism with trains, not just transport. I then found out that my lack of knowledge in the tourism industry was a huge stumbling block to making a success of the business. And secondly, my lack of knowledge of the railway system. Because what I didn't realize is that you've got to run a schedule. So you start running. If you don't fill it, what do? Well, you've still got to run. And that costs more than the hardware. So if you reckon it's going to cost you $100 to build a train, you better have $200 in the bank to handle operations until you reach break even, which could be 6 months, it could be 5. In my case, it was 5 years. We lost a lot of money in the first 5 years. I'd sold my house and the cars and boats and planes and mother-in-laws. I'd sold everything that I could possibly sell. Once you get into this sort of business, you're only sleeping in your bed 10% of the time. So if there are any regrets, it's possibly not having had the time with the kids when they were younger.
What was going through your mind and how did you feel at that moment?
Well, it was survival and fear of failure. You know, I'd been a successful businessman for 20, 25 years. I'd been my own boss since the age of 20. So to suddenly, you know, face the idea of failure was just not acceptable. So it was only once we were into sort of 95, 96 that I started to relax a little and say, no, I think we've got the right mix here now, and we will attract more and more passengers, because we could watch the numbers growing. And of course the word of mouth that was out there was increasing our passenger loads. We launched the Cape Town to Victoria Falls run, and that saved my bacon. It was immediately popular. And in fact, it was 90 days later, after nearly going bankrupt, I bought 38 carriages from the railways themselves. So the turnaround was very quick, and from then we never looked back, actually. If you'd asked me then, did I think that we would be where we are today, I would have laughed. I would have not thought it's possible. So wherever there's a railway line, you know, I'm now attracted. And pleasingly, I think railways are beginning to gain traction again in Africa.
I gotta admit, he's certainly unconventional.
He's very hands-on. Even when it comes to maintenance on board, he knows everything from the bottom right to the top.
They called me the Duracell bunny, you know. It was like the advertisement for the guy with the batteries. Is that my energies are there still. Luckily, I'm 72 now, but I've still got enough energy to keep going, keep this business going, and I don't see that flagging for a while. There's no boredom in this business at all for me, and it started off as a hobby, you know, and so I suppose at the end of the day, I'm very happy to say that I can only be happy, pursuing my hobby as an occupation.